We work hard, we play hard. We are gamerpreneurs. Individuals who have chosen to give up the security of a 9-to-5 in favor of getting to set our own hours, of doing the work that we want to do, and we refuse to give up the hobby that we grew up with in order to, quote, grow up. We have learned countless laws of life and sales from the games that we play, and we excel in everything we do. We see the wonder and glory in every interaction. We fit in awkwardly with the rest of the world because they don't understand our quirkiness, and we wear it as a badge of pride. We are focused, clear, and know what we want. We are gamerpreneurs, and we are taking over the world. Hey there, everybody. Dr. Bradford Carlton here. Welcome back to the Gamerpreneur Podcast. Today I have a very special guest for you with his wonderful YouTube channel, Avalanche Reviews. We have avalanchejared. Hi there, Jared.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I am fantastic. It's a beautiful day in sunny Las Vegas. How about yourself?
Not terrible at all. Day just started for me, so I'm feeling good.
All right. So, Jared, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, sure. I am, I guess you could call me a YouTube content creator now. I think I've earned that title. I create content on YouTube. I play a lot of video games, and I guess I've figured out a way to start making money off of it with reviewing them and kind of focusing on more retro video output and upscaling and, I don't know, the more technical aspects of it, I guess.
I wouldn't sell yourself short there, Jared. You have a couple thousand subscribers on YouTube.
A few. They're starting to get up there.
All right. So I want to know a little bit about you. Can you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, how weird are you?
I would say probably closer to 10 on the spectrum if I had to judge my own weirdness. And I think maybe that's why the YouTube channel works, because my taste in games seems to be real odd compared to what, most people would typically get into. And maybe that's why, people find the channels. I have weird taste, and maybe I'm giving out opinions that not a lot of people are throwing out there.
Sure. Personally, in my opinion, it's because of that beard of yours. It's an absolutely gorgeous beard. I wish we had you on video to show it, but the image I'm going to have up here it's pretty much the same. You're a hair's breadth away from being wizard level.
I'm growing it back out, actually. I'm in the process because I had shaved it off for a while. I do it like every year where I get tired of it, shave it off, and then regret it. And I'm in the regret phase now, so it's coming back.
Oh. All right. So your YouTube channel, can you kind of tell us how you got started as a YouTuber?
It's actually a funny story. Me and a friend were driving back from a death metal show in Tampa, and I just kind of blurted out, I think I want to make YouTube videos. And then I did. Like I just started planning it on the way home from that trip. And I had always loved Silent Hill 3. And Silent Hill 3 was the first video game review I'd ever made before. And it just kind of started from that car trip. I just felt like I should probably make a YouTube video, I guess.
All right. But how many videos do you think you've made so far?
Oh, that is a really good question. I more than 100, if I'm not mistaken, because I think
right.
I just recently celebrated the 100 mark a few months ago. There we go, 108. It looks like.
That is a lot of games.
Yeah.
Did you always assume you'd be playing video games like this?
I don't. You know what? Honestly, no, I don't think so. When I stream and when I do video game reviews, it kind of feels like how when me and my brother used to play video games, one of us would be playing, the other one would be watching. So I guess I'd kind of been preparing for it my whole life. But yeah, I never thought that I would have an audience,
Sure. Oh man. But now that you're doing it, now that you're into it, is it kind of obvious this is what you're meant to do?
It kind of feels that way. If I'm being honest, the creative aspect of it just kind of comes out when I'm writing a script or when I'm editing, and I'm able to just put my personality into it. It just kind of, it kind of feels right.
Okay. Now, talking about your personality, what is it you think, what's that unique skill that you have that makes you so successful? Because you have a very large following on YouTube. Just, I'm going to editorialize real quick. I just went to a seminar a couple of weeks ago. The guy was all proud. He had 12,000 subscribers on YouTube and he was like strutting his stuff. And you got a few more than that.
Just a couple more. Yeah, and I've thought about that before, honestly, and I honestly don't know if I have an answer for that because I kind of just make videos as they come out of me, if that makes any sense. I don't really follow, like, let's say, like a set standard. I just, when I sit down to make the video, it kind of just comes out that way. And luckily people like it, but I, I honestly couldn't tell you specifically what people, are looking for in my videos. I have gotten comments on my voiceover. People do like that. So that might be an aspect of it.
All right. Well, maybe they just like what you have to say.
That might be it. It very well may be. Like I said, I do kind of scale more towards the weird end of the spectrum, and that might, I don't know, be interesting for people.
All right. Now, do you have any resources that have helped you along on this journey?
Oh, absolutely. There's plenty. Other YouTubers, I would say, mostly more than anything. I started getting into retro video upscaling and bought myself an XRGB mini FrameMeister, which will just take old retro video, upscale it to 1080p, and make it look real nice and sharp. And that was like a hobby of mine for a while. But then the YouTube channel, My Life in Gaming, kind of editorialized. Everybody knows about the FrameMeister, and through watching their videos and other people like Digital Foundry Retro, I started to kind of get inspiration for what I should look for in retro video and how to, like, certain terms. And I never knew terminology. I only knew what I liked. And that kind of helped me along. And I'd just say other YouTubers in general, like whoever I'm watching at the time, will start to influence how maybe I'll write a script or how I'll put a scene in a video.
Fantastic. All right. Do you have any recommendations other than the ones you've already mentioned?
Yeah, definitely. I have a few recommendations. Bob from Retro RGB on YouTube is really good. I like him a lot. There's smaller reviewers that I really enjoy, like the channel Viridian Flashback, that does exclusively original Xbox content, and another guy that I really like, Styles Reviews, who does very long, in-depth, like essay style video reviews, which I've always enjoyed.
Cool. All right. Now, since this is the Gamerpreneur, I want to know, are you making any money on this?
I absolutely am, thankfully.
Is that just through the YouTube monetization? Do you have merchandise?
A little bit of everything, actually. I am monetized on YouTube through ads, and that probably makes up a majority of my income, but I also do have a Patreon that's a monthly reoccurring thing, so people can join up at whatever tier they want, and that helps a lot. That's a good little stream of revenue. And I do sell T-shirts on a Redbubble account just for a little bit of change on the side. It's not very much, but I like sharp retro video game pixels, so I make video game shirts that specifically have been upscaled to be sharp and kind of pixelated looking versus how some people might smooth things out.
All right, that's wonderful. So let me ask you this. What do you wish you had known when you first started up your channel that you didn't know?
That's probably, that might be an infinite list. How to make videos very well. That would be the first thing. Honestly, I kind of like the way that I've done this whole YouTube thing. As far as learning as I did it, I probably wouldn't change anything with how I started, because it was all like a process that got me here, and I'm now relatively experienced through learning. And I don't know if I would have wanted to come in knowing anything about it. That's kind of how I do stuff. Let's just jump in blind and let's see what happens.
I've been known to do that myself. I get it. What advice would you give to somebody who's brand new or just planning on starting? I mean, you've had some success. You should be able to give some good advice here.
Yeah, I could definitely give some advice. I would say the number one thing that you never know with YouTube. There's so many different metrics you can go by to, determine why you have been as successful as you have been. But what it feels like for me, and what really became a big obsession of mine, was responding to every single comment I got. And I think that would do a YouTube reviewer well, to sit in his comment section and just have discussions with people, because I built up relationships with certain viewers, and there are people now that I had commented on every video I've ever made in the last, Jesus, I think it's been 7 or 8 years. And you kind of get to know them, and they come back. They want to see what you're doing because they know you personally as well through that interaction. So I think that's probably one of the biggest pieces of advice that I give to people, is just answer your comments, every single one. Answer your DMs on Twitter. Talk to people, because those people are watching your videos. They're the ones you want to be speaking to.
Wonderful. So engage with your fans and create like raving fans, as we'd say in the business world.
Hmm.
All right. So
That
this
is
is
the
the
idea.
So it's the Gamerpreneur, and where we mix gaming and business, mash them together. I want to know kind of your gaming cred. You're a reviewer, obviously you play video games, but what first led you to play video games in the first place?
You know, it sounds like such a cliche thing. I think I always have played video games. I can remember, this is probably my earliest memory of a video game, is my dad had a Nintendo Entertainment System when me and my brother were too young to really even, know how to play it, 4, 5, 6 years old. And I remember watching him play, I believe it was Super Mario 3. That is exactly what it was. And he would get to a point in a level, and the level would look really interesting to me. I'd like, I want to play, and I would complain and complain, and my mom would make my dad let me play, and he was actually frustrated because I would lose his progress. Obviously, I would get killed immediately and just die. And I think that's probably where it started, was bothering my dad and him getting mad at me because I had lost his guy and he had to start all over.
I understand that. I have a 2-year-old, and she currently plays games. She'll watch my wife and I play, and she like take the controller from us, and oh, Mario's dead. I got to start over.
That's
Some things never
exactly how
end,
it
I
went.
guess. Yeah. Are there any games or updates coming out soon that you're looking forward to?
Ooh, that's a good question. So I'm of two different minds. I am incredibly excited for the Final Fantasy VII remake, despite the fact that I disagree with a lot of the stuff that's going on with it, with the episodic nature and what they're doing. They're changing some aspects of the story around, which I'm really apprehensive about. But even so, I am really excited to get it in my hands.
I think it was just a couple days ago they released some new images. We might have Chocobo Racing in the first part in Midgar. I mean, all right, maybe
Yeah,
if they do it right. That's the thing. I
yeah,
love the Chocobo Racing. If they do it right,
exactly.
I'm cool.
Yeah, that's pretty much my take on the entire remake. Is this could be amazing if they do it right. That if is the big thing that's hanging over it for me.
Sure. What's your favorite game of all time?
Oh man. So I've tried to figure that question out for years, and I don't think I could put one game, but I will say, at the very least, I have a few: Resident Evil 2, Final Fantasy 7, Castlevania Symphony of the Night, and Silent Hill 3 are the big four. But I could probably make you a list of about 80 that I think are in my top 100. So
Oh, so you're like a PS1 fan then.
gigantic PS1 fan. I think that's when I really started cutting my teeth as far as I, it's so hard to explain. One day you're playing video games, and then you start to notice little differences between them, and then you start to notice that there's genres, and you start to notice that certain games made by certain companies are really good. And I think the PS1 era is when I kind of came into that, I
Well,
don't
they
know,
had some
just
of the best games,
way of thinking.
some of the best RPGs, best
That's
action,
absolutely
best
true.
platformers. I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
All right, that's good to hear, because a lot of people tend to take the SNES side of things, and that was an incredible console. I love my SNES RPGs, but I don't think you can argue with the PS1's level of quality.
Sure. I would say mine are Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG, but after that, it really moved straight over to PlayStation 1.
I got you.
Okay. As far as, here's an interesting one. If you could be any video game character, who would you be?
Oh man, that's a good one. I feel like I sort of, kind of, uh, like Chris Redfield might be my spirit animal as far as the way that I actually am, but I would actually like to be Heather from Silent Hill 3. I love her personality, and I kind of like the idea of going through a crazy world of self-realization where, aspects of my inner demons torment me in the real world. That kind of seems interesting to me.
I think that's called marriage normally.
That's exactly what it's called.
It's one married man to another. uh, all right, switching gears just a little bit. I want to know a little bit about you. So you have a very, very successful channel. But my goal here is to show people that you can be successful and still have kind of rough spots in your life. So I want to know what's something that you
Hmm.
failed at.
Oh, interesting. Huh. You know, I would say everything that I've probably ever tried, but I kind of enjoy failure in a sense. It is depressing as hell when you put everything into something and it doesn't pan out. But um, I kind of like trying something out, not being good at it. And for example, when I was a preteen, I was really into drawing and art, and I had just gotten into like Japanese anime, and I drew relatively okay up until I was about 15 years old. And I looked at it when I was 15, and I made a uncharacteristically business-like judgment. And I was like, well, I'm not as good as I would like to be, and I've been doing this for a long time, so I'm going to do something else. And I still look at that like I really enjoy drawing, and even though I'm not doing it now, and you could technically say I failed at it because I never really went anywhere with it. I like the fact that I went through that entire process, and
That's
so
like, do you do your
there's
own
been a
art
lot of
still,
failures.
or do you hire someone else to do that?
Oh, I definitely hire someone else to do that. I am nowhere near good enough. I think my original assessment when I was 15 years old was spot on.
All right. Well, kind of just a slightly different question. What's something you're not very good at?
Something I am not very good at. Oh man, that's a good one. Some people would argue making YouTube videos. uh, I am not very good right now, and it's killing me. I've been in the process of learning Japanese for several years, and I am not very good at reading their alphabet, the first simple alphabet, hiragana, and I still have characters that I can't memorize. I'll be reading a sentence, and I have a little hiragana chart on my phone that I have to pull up nonstop because I forgot, chi and ki are relatively similar looking, so I'm not very good at reading hiragana right now.
Okay. Now, going back to your channel a little bit, what's something people seem to misunderstand about what they're seeing when you're playing? So you go through your comments, obviously you know what people are saying.
Hmm. Um, there's a couple of things that always stand out. I think right now the biggest, I wouldn't say controversy, but it's a running theme on my channel, is I have a very specific view of the genre survival horror. And a lot of people tend to either misunderstand, or it might be me not explaining my own position very well. But it's a very personal definition of survival horror. But I tend to think that the games that created the genre, like say Resident Evil 1, that should be how the genre is judged. So if you have a game that has none of RE1's gameplay mechanics, it'd be really hard to call it survival horror. And that's always been a very firm position of mine. And I lay it out in some videos, but as I continue making videos, I don't reference that video anymore. And I'll just say, listen, I don't think this game is survival horror, and I'll end it there. And people will respond back with arguments I've already either refuted or discussed in previous videos. And that's definitely my fault for not making the full argument every time. I always give everybody the clip notes. But I would say probably that's the biggest ongoing argument in my comment sections for the last 3 years, it seems.
Okay. All right. What's the best compliment you would say you've ever received in a comment?
Best compliment I've ever received in a comment. Um, Usually they're about my voice. I get a lot of compliments about my voice, soothing them to sleep, or it's buttery smooth, or there's a lot of different stuff said about it. But it's typically something about my voice in one way or another.
I'd agree with those assessments of your voice. It's very soothing.
Oh, thank you. I never noticed that about myself until I started a YouTube channel. I never had any idea that my voice sounded any different from anyone else's, but I like to think that it's less of what I'm born with, and maybe I obsess over recording quality. So I hope it's at least 50-50 there.
Sure. Now, what's the worst trolling you've ever received in a comment?
Huh. I don't think I get a lot of your typical YouTube trolls, or at the very least, maybe they don't really affect me. If someone says something in a comment that's clearly just, I don't know, maybe hateful or ironically insulting, I tend to be able to laugh at that stuff pretty good. So if somebody makes fun of something I do in a video, it always feels kind of like an inside joke between the two of us. So I don't think I get trolled that often, but that might be what everybody says who's getting trolled.
Sure. And you just ignore them if you were, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I got one more question. You referenced earlier toward the beginning of this interview the community of YouTubers. What's that community like? Are you friends with them? Do you interact with them? Do you collaborate?
What's weird is I have a little bugbear about the word community. I don't like it as much because we're all, this is gonna sound so weird, but we're all these individuals with such different goals and aspirations. And even in YouTube, we have such different methodology that I would struggle to call it a community, a loose-knit group at the very best. But I do interact with a lot of other YouTubers, especially ones whose content I really enjoy. I just got done doing a little collaboration with a YouTuber I really like named Evan, and he has a channel called Game Music Minutia, where he does real deep analysis on video game music and how it sets scenes and how it's implemented, properly. And I've worked with Super Derek RPGs, who's a super cool guy, good personal friend of mine. So I have like a lot of personal friends that I interact with through YouTube, and I met them through that. But I don't know if I'd call it a community because, if I said something really stupid, I wouldn't want them to be as a part of the community. You know what I mean? I drag everyone down with me type of deal. So
Sure.
I like the some of us are friends, type of distinction.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Is there anything I didn't ask that you think you should bring up?
Going back to the advice thing, if I could expand on it, I would say, other than respond to all your comments, it's going to be a weird piece of advice, especially given the context of our discussion. I would say don't expect to make any money off of YouTube. And that way, if you ever do, you will appreciate it so much. You will absolutely, even to this day, when I get money in my bank from, Google AdSense, I'm blown away at the amount, because this has always been a hobby for me. And now it's a hobby that makes me money, which is like if you were a painter and you enjoyed painting so much and then someone bought one of your paintings every once in a while, that tends to be how I feel. So maybe go into it with real proper expectations, because YouTube is a fickle beast and not everyone's going to be successful at it. And if you go in expecting, I'm going to have fun, I'm going to express myself, but maybe that paycheck isn't going to come in, I think you'll probably orient your channel properly from the start.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Avalanche Jared, with your YouTube channel, Avalanche Reviews. We really appreciate you coming on and talking with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, in that case, well, you all take it easy. Hey, if you like this podcast, I'd love to invite you to check out a little bit more about me, Dr. Bradford Carlton, Gamerpreneur. If you go to my website, www.thegamerpreneur.com/bonus, I'm going to give you a free copy of my book, The Warcraft of Business, where I explain my history in both gaming and business and how I brought the two together in order to create some very successful companies and help a lot of people. And all you got to do is pay for shipping and processing, and I'll send you this book. I absolutely know you're going to love it. All right, you all take it easy.